My older line, city council meeting over at 5 o'clock. Takes more than 20 minutes to get across town right now.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you got a magic switch in your truck, you can flip on.
Working today. That's not even working today.
We switched over to the lines.
Been that way all night.
Yes, sir. We expect it to get a little worse as the evening goes on.
Then tomorrow's gonna get
It's gonna be
even
bad.
crazier.
And never have any problem.
Good deal.
Have we switched over to Verizon?
Anyway.
Right.
All right. Agenda item 6J. Introduction and first reading of ordinance number 1046. An ordinance of the city of Perry, Florida, amending the text of the city of Perry Land Development Regulations. As
We read all that. Oh, it's like it wasn't approved last night at the planning zone. For it to be tabled, they didn't quite understand. They wanted to make sure that it couldn't be put on the land at the old Perry primary. Remember the language we put in there?
Yes.
Active school?
Uh-huh.
They want some clarification that it's really gonna be that way. So they wanted one more meeting to talk about it. So it wasn't approved planning and zoning. I need you to say the words. It's gotta be,
It's gotta be continued to the November 12th meeting to. Gotta be continued to the November 12th meeting
Okay.
at 4 o'clock.
If I could speak to that as well. Yesterday, this ordinance, this zoning issue was the only thing that was discussed. And there were a couple of questions, one in which John notated here, in the agenda pack that went out regarding, the high schools not being mentioned. People like Mr. Michael Williams very much caught that, and he was wanting to know. And he wasn't as opposed to it not, but there wasn't a clear understanding as to why. And I do know that there was a voicemail or something, I guess, left to Mr. Hart, where most of the time in the zoning meetings, the applicants are there to share and be able to answer those questions. So I answered as the city of Perry is making this application, although the benefit goes directly to the school board. There were just some questions as to what is the purpose, and the idea doesn't have anything to do with anything they should be concerned about considering it. They wanted to make sure, again, what you just noted, number 2, that this would not come into conflict with the desires of they're not wanting the property to be considered where the former Perry primary was. And lastly, they appreciate the language of active school, but they thought it would be beneficial to have a definition of what active school is versus not active, being that they came to the meeting understanding the original request some months ago that already been filtered through city council, regarding the original request that brought the steam was the pool barn. Is that what it's called? Pool barn? Pool barn, something on Perry primary. So they were relieved to know that it clearly was not what the city intended, but since we're noting that what the reasons were why they did not pass it, what they wanted answers to those.
You said they came to the meeting. Who is they?
The zoning
Zoning
board,
board?
the zoning board.
Okay,
So do we need to
That's
answer
what we're
those tonight, or
referring to, Yesterday's zoning board.
okay.
do we need to answer those tonight?
You don't have to answer tonight. The next meeting they have is November 4th. But I did suggest that we put forth the question, so if there was any insight on it that Mr. Hart can give. I shared with them the intention of the council that Mr. Hart shared as well in his application, that we're supporting the agricultural projects that have currently been going on or used to, or recently went on at the high school and the middle school. And the question was, well, why isn't the high school being addressed in the zoning language that was changed. And Mr. Hart wasn't there to answer that question, because all I knew is that he had posed the same question to regional planning. And regional planning apparently that day may have called and left a voice message, but I wasn't privy to that conversation. I did not know.
I didn't quite understand if it had something to do with the high schools on their permissible use in RSF one. So we can't add in our LDRs, that you're allowed to have a high school in RSF one. So I think I put that in there, but to really get this done right, we're going to have to change the high school to RSF two.
What it was put in today's agenda annotation. It wasn't provided to the zoning board. And still, that was sort of like, and I think the answer may have come yesterday, so that wasn't even clear as to why it was. They were just concerned, but not that they were against the particular ordinance as written. Just wanted to know why the high school wasn't covered. And would like a definition, a certain description of what an active school is. Again, most of the members of the zoning board are coming in thinking and what they've heard regarding a place being placed at the former Perry primary property.
We
know how to fix it.
When you say active school is what an active school is.
I mean, we could
I thought it meant-
place a definition in there. I think the most problematic, or not problematic, I think they'll still pass what's been presented, but it's still not addressing the high school agricultural program, and they were the biggest proponent here because the language of the amendment does not address them, it only would address the middle school. But that doesn't mean they can't go forward with the high school November 4th, excuse me, with what has been sent to them, but it doesn't address the high school, and I believe the high school had, you know, the teachers at the high school are who put forth this effort to try to. So the zoning board did not seem to be objecting, they just wanted information and clarity. And
Well,
they
it's- It's mentioned on page 5 of this 19-page document. The high school is mentioned.
It's not mentioned in all of the text amendments. When you go down section by section, is it like 2 or 3 of them where the high school no longer is mentioned?
Well, there's something you need us to fix, or something y'all can fix internally? Okay,
Since high schools aren't allowed in RSF one in the comp plan, like I said, you can't put them in the LDRs. They're gonna have to get rezoned to RSF two. They need to do that anyway. That's why it's written.
And who is they? Okay, so is that what the regional council shared, that they would resubmit it with as to how that should be handled, or would that be another application from the city?
That would be another application from school.
It should be from the school.
Would that be a conflict with the original special exception they got for RSF one original construction? Yep.
Because you're moving out of special exception into allow you to have, plan says you can't have a high school in RSF one. So you can't have permitted use in your LDR
I understand.
against your comp plan.
I don't understand what the complaint is, because the high school is mentioned in every one of these, except the last page where it's talking about public charter and private vocational and trade schools. It's not mentioned there, but in all the others, it's mentioned right along with elementary and middle schools.
Well, what Mr. Hart just explained, it doesn't correlate to the comprehensive land use plan. So it is not a ticker of counting how many times the name is mentioned, but the high school would not be impacted by the amendments that we're changing, that have been suggested to be changed.
it's a high school got a different zoning category than every other school,
It's RSF one.
and every other school is
I don't even know.
something else.
All the other schools are allowed in RSF one. It's specifically high school is not allowed to be in RSF. So they couldn't put that in the language in the LDR text amendment
So it's specific just to a high school.
in the comp plan. Back in the day, way before the LDR was written. It has
Wow.
something to do with driving and
Driving through neighborhoods and so forth.
Yeah.
Maybe I could go back and clear it up. if they were to, which I don't believe they would be opposed to, based on yesterday's board meeting, the question was, what about the high schools? So they would be approving of it as it's written, regarding which would impact our middle school, but whatever their action would be, the question of how the high school would be impacted would still be out there. It doesn't address the issue, and there was no explanation as to why the high school wasn't.
Okay, so anyway, it sounds like it's easily fixed, so,
Yeah, they disapprove what's in front of y'all, and then we gotta go back and rezone.
okay. All right,
Easily fixed, just not fast fixed.
very good.
Does that have to go back before the board?
You know, Ma'am?
It's just gotta go back before the board and then it'll go back to you all. November 12th.
Okay.
Did they lose any pigs? I saw two beautiful pigs on Facebook. That were missing, lost,
Already getting that.
maybe down to the schools. Okay, just.
All right, so we're gonna circle back around to this in November.
You say the words, continue until the November 12th meeting. We don't have to re-advertise it in section of the paper.
Okay, we're
Yeah.
gonna table this, continue, we're gonna pick this up and continue the November 12th, 4 p.m. meeting. All right. Sure,
Yeah, I have a vote.
all right,
Let's continue.
we can vote on it.
Can't vote on it yet, it's being continued.
I know, but you gotta have a vote to continue it.
Oh,
Because it's an ordinance, okay. Have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
who made the first?
Yeah.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Hampton,
Yes,
Councilmember Woodhull,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Landry,
Yes.
Mayor Ketchum.
Yes. Agenda item 6K. Council to discuss a grant for the police department crime analyst position and take any action deemed necessary.
We discussed this at the last council meeting, you wanted to talk about this for you. And we- yes,
Just a new position,
this would be a new position, yeah.
what we count.
They will give us $68,000 a year. It depends on how we want to proceed with this position. We
So,
can make it full-time or OPS, potentially.
you know, we can't vote on something if we don't know what it's gonna cost. I can't.
It's gonna cost us nothing.
Sure we.
What will the position accomplish and why do we need it?
This would be in cooperation with the state of Florida through FPLE and the Florida Fusion Center. A crime analyst, looks at crime trends, prepares analysis on the actions we have going on in town to apprehend criminals and prevent future crime. This in itself also would help the state of Florida in infrastructure protection, utilities, domestic security. So primarily, the goal would be to support the state of Florida whenever they needed it. But when the state was not using this position, it would be 100% used by us for whatever we need inside the police department in the city of Perry. It's just analyzing crime trends and using information sharing from national systems.
At no cost to us.
We know it's $68,000 a year, and if we can set a salary, whatever we want it to be, it doesn't have to be paid that. They're giving us $68,000 a year to do, hire a position, pay them, and then train.
They're offering you $65,000
Plus 3,000 in training.
to pay a person that's gonna probably cost you how much, 80, 90?
and if you make it OPS,
Or even. Never happened.
The other crime analysts that are funded throughout the state, their salary is about $52,000 to $55,000 a year. Plus benefits.
It's 5, so that'd be, about 80.
We'd have to do the percentage on that, but 17% roughly.
No,
Offer health insurance and all that.
Full
But
benefits, so
we could offer it as an OPS position. Where they don't, and this is an option that it's how we want to structure it. We do an OPS position where it doesn't get full
We
benefit.
just keep adding positions and adding positions. And the day will come,
If the grant goes away, does the position go away,
Yes,
no,
sir?
never happened.
If it's OPS.
Have you ever heard of a government reducing positions? Would you
Yes,
vote to reduce a position?
I guess
With the man sitting right there. I know the answer, is you do too.
Yes, if it's OPS.
If it's OPS and the grant goes away, we wouldn't have any choice.
Well, not.
Can't we?
Do we already have someone in mind for this position?
no, we don't. We would have to advertise.
Or do they have, what is it, qualifications they have to have?
We would,
They're in here.
we would follow the guidelines and qualifications of other analysts.
But if we do this, they're gonna have to understand they're working for the grant,
Yes,
and it could just vaporize next year.
that would be the explanation.
Or you gotta understand that the city of Perry is gonna make a contribution above that $65,000.
If it's not, if it's career service, yeah, it's gonna have to. With OPS,
What's starting salary of an officer now? Just for
54.
54, so you already at that.
are they gonna be police, they're going to the police department of the city,
They will not be sworn officers, they would be regular staff.
so they work for the city, they work for the city?
Yes,
Okay. You know what I meant, I know that everybody works for the city, but you know what I meant by that.
so the one thing that I need to mention is currently with the people that we're investigating with the crimes that with analysts will be used for are technologically advanced. It takes more time for us to get investigations completed because of the technology that they use and the online media and the social media and everything that they're doing. This would bridge that gap for us to be able to successfully investigate these crimes. And you can't say that it's not happening here. Last year, off of a curfew stop, because of the work an analyst helped us do, we were able to rescue children that were being victimized through child pornography during a day hurricane. And analysts helped us do that. An analyst helps us track down these people that are making these school threats and then make arrests on those.
And this person will be an employee of the city of Perry,
Yes.
but he's gonna work for the state of Florida when the state of Florida wants him. And maybe Live Oak or wherever when they want him. Won't be just the city of Perry.
Yeah, would they be contributing to?
No,
Yeah, the
Well-
65,000 plus
how
3,000.
much would Live Oak contribute?
Nothing.
So DLE's giving you the grant,
Yes.
so they. Why wouldn't they work for DLE then?
That's the way the legislators are funding these things. They want them throughout the community so that they have more eyes to look at local environment.
Okay. They want to station at different places. Gotcha.
And we were chosen by the Fusion Center for this position. We didn't seek it because we've used our analysts so much that they said that we could benefit from ourselves, the amount of work we're trying to work with them.
As long as they'll go, I mean, I'm okay with it myself, as long as they don't go above the grant amount and they understand they're working for the grant.
You don't have a budget yet. You don't know what this is gonna cost.
I think what we're asking.
You don't have a budget amendment either.
Well, I was just saying, as long as it doesn't go above it and they understand they're working for the grant,
You don't have a budget.
68,000.
Well, what I'm asking for is, should we proceed or we just need to just turn it back in? Should we bring you a budget for this? And that's what we we're originally after in the beginning. Should we proceed, see if we can get this thing funded? And then set a budget for it, or we should just forget about it?
Are we funding transportation and all of that?
No.
They're gonna have a vehicle, I'm guessing,
That would be their own vehicle.
using their own vehicle?
Doesn't say that.
I think if it would aid y'all in solving the crimes as much as you think it will, it would be worth the risk.
I know how much
Of the
we
money.
have benefited already, other analysts helping. But those analysts are being overwhelmed with the amount of work.
Hmm.
This is another way to help spread that work.
Like I said, if everything goes as presented, I don't see a problem with it.
And what we're authorizing,
Wait.
what we would be authorizing you to do tonight is to go forward and then bring it back to us.
Bring the budget back
Right.
for approval. Yes.
I'll make a motion, we do that, if that's what we need.
We have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Grimes,
No,
Give it your time, boy.
Councilmember Hampton,
Yes.
Councilmember Woodball,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Landry,
Yes.
Mayor Catherine.
As long as it says stated, yes. It's gonna come back to us once the budget gets finalized, okay.
Are you thinking maybe OPS? Star,
Probably, yes.
does it still work the same, don't take out Social Security?
Don't currently employ an OPS, well, we have one, and that's,
That'd be up for eight. I guess HR would have to go through, or
yeah, we
figure all that out, so. Okay, agenda item 6L. Council to discuss possibly piggybacking off an Orlando contract for schools on cameras. And council will take any action need necessary. So Orlando's got a contract, we're just looking at going on this.
It's actually there, it's Plantation, Florida, yeah.
Well, Orlando area. Orlando area.
and we need to change Orlando to Plantation.
I think the contract reflects plantation,
The contract,
the agenda says Orlando.
the contract does reference Plantation, Florida.
If you live where I live, you'll understand.
Yes, sir, you're right, I used to live by you. I know.
Motion to sign the agreement.
I think is needed.
Oh,
We need to
second.
do something.
Second,
Councilmember Grimes.
Yes.
Councilmember Hampton.
yes.
Councilmember Woodball,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Landry,
Yes.
Mayor Catherine.
Yes. Agenda item 6M, council to appoint one citizen to the planning and zoning board of adjustments and take any action deemed necessary. Do we have anyone? Hmm.
Maybe somewhere. On service. Attendance is next. It's good. So,
Would anybody here like to serve on that board? Anyone? Planning and zoning board member? Pays extremely well. Had to ask.
Now that I got mine on, I'll serve on it.
Right.
thank you.
Well, if you got something on the board, all you gotta do is abstain.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll take a vote real quick before you change the mind. Before he finds out the rest of it.
You done got a motion and a second.
Yes.
Councilmember Hampton,
Yes.
Councilmember Woodball,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Landry,
Yes.
Mayor Catherine.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Wants to meet, are y'all telling the rest of the story? Okay, agenda item 6N, Hope Dent City Attorney to address the council regarding liens. And council to take any action deemed necessary.
Okay, thank you all for
Thank
putting
you.
me on the calendar. I didn't realize I requested to be on the agenda. I think I said the last meeting that I had something regarding liens I would like to discuss, and I do apologize for Councilmember Hampton, who actually brought it to my attention regarding wanting a list of liens, which is not what I was prepared to talk about today. But I just wanted to let you know subsequently, I have got those things. Today, I had hoped to follow up on my discussion from the Florida League of Cities presentation I did regarding a number of viable vendors who either now or in the future may be good vendors to look at. And one that I mentioned but said I didn't have enough time to discuss was the Orange Data System vendor that dealt with basically streamlining the lien process by which we would enforce liens and potentially have an abatement program, and then have them also research what properties that have liens are now being on the market for sale, so that we can get our money from the purchase. So let me break down the two services that I think they have, and regardless of regardless of the feedback, I was not prepared to put something forth for a vote. I literally was saying, I'll talk about it, or at least I attempted to share, I'll talk about it in the next county or city meeting where they ask the city attorney, do you have anything? So just say that I'm not here to ask you to act upon something. I would say put it in the mind frame of how we were when we first were talking about the speed violation issue and the idea there may be a vendor to handle it. Okay, so I just want to say that, make that clear, because otherwise I would have had copies of all this stuff, and I will subsequently give it to you if you're interested in, because even if we don't use the vendors, I'm definitely open to any suggestion of the council as to how you want to handle the outstanding liens we have that I think dating back, well, I won't say dating back, the outstanding liens we have that have had no further action on them after having been imposed and filed with the clerk of court. So I'll start with the first point first, which is the idea that we have a vendor that they could help us right now. And I don't have a total cost. We have an index that Brandy used to keep up with of liens that have been filed with the clerk of court. The youngest year I'm seeing is 2008. Yes, the youngest year I'm seeing is 2008. The oldest, 2008 to 2019. And then during the year of COVID, I'm gonna use that as a delineation. There were no liens filed that we could file between 2020 and September 2023. So that was a little bit over 3 years. Nothing was filed. Not that there had not been any code violations with fines, but there had been, what had been explained to me by the former city attorney, as well as talking even to Amy, there seemed to be no will to actually, after filing the liens with the clerk of court, to actually collect upon them. So September 2023, and I think the conversation in the council also wanted to make the best use of all this money we had remaining that could go into demolition. Like, why are we not moving forward to getting clarity on some of these properties? And so John Hart and others had completed some process. We've had demolitions. I know you all have heard of them. Not that that's the only way to deal with the lien issue,
After
but
it's done, and you've got it.
well, I'm not speaking on the timetable, other than 2023, there were new liens that were filed. And so the liens that were filed were done by the city manager's office, which is per the way the ordinance work here. So I think the last issue that I was aware of that wasn't even about lien enforcement, it dealt with a property that the lien had been filed in 2000. Let me make sure I don't want to lie.
Just say one thing, you know, what you thinking.
No, I wasn't thinking what I was gonna say. I was looking for the year in which I was discussing.
I don't think council is being up to date with what's going on with the liens and these homes being demolished. I'm not a big fan of taking someone's property. With that at least coming through the council. I just want to be better informed. Okay, I'm. through. Thank you.
No, I definitely, understand, and I can share that. As far as I understand, at least from my memory of last year, there was a discussion with council regarding budget. There was a discussion with council regarding, when I say there was a discussion, I didn't lead the discussion. It was amongst the council regarding money for demolition. And if I'm incorrect, that's why I don't wanna say who said what, but there was even discussion on, we can actually assist those citizens possibly
Mhm.
to go forward and have sellable land if they were to willingly or without a lot of fight, allow us to demolish the property, make it more viable as a selling option. So, I do know that. Now, how it was, and all of these things officially were noticed back in 2008 when the lien happened, back in 2009. So the council itself legitimately as an institution, not individuals, was provided notice. But because there's been a delay in enforcing them, it's only been of late in the last less than a year that there have been demolitions, there have been any action. Because when a lien is on a property, you not only have possibly the right to demolish it, you have the right to sue them for the money or to attach it to any sale. So that's definitely one of the most sort of tumultuous action, right? Any idea of taking someone's property or demolishing a building. And what I'm hoping in discussion about Orange Data System as a vendor or something like it, even if it's only internal, is that with all of these old liens, some of which are $48,500.87. I mentioned Mr. Dark Martin because he had been before the Board of Adjustments and Zoning several times in the last year. His buy and lien is now $68,567. $68,567.38. This man, I believe, is almost 90 years old. And
And it started at how much?
I'm so sorry.
What was the beginning amount? 45? You just said 45,100.
No, man, I didn't. I just said as to this date.
The liens, this deal, $29 per day.
Oh, how did it start?
Yeah,
I don't know back in, when he started getting his established, but for right now, typically it's $25 a day if you don't clean up. And it could double if you're a repeat offender. So. That being said, and let me break it down even in a different way, just to make sure I'm clear, regardless of a vendor. We have all these liens, and if a person couldn't pay the $25 a day, or didn't pay the $25 a day, the likelihood of them paying $68,000 at almost 90 years old is even less likely. So I propose as a beginning place, outside of what Councilwoman Hampton have shared. First of all, the council wants more notice as to what's going on with the liens. I will give you a copy of the liens that I got before the meeting. Secondly, is that I think abatement programming would also help in determining how much the liens are, how old they are, the character of the lien, something that's written in our code enforcement that would leave that all up to the city manager because he's doing nothing else, right? Except for looking at 15-year-old liens. What I'm describing is that we come up or allow me to present a plan where we figure out the quality of the liens and the possibility of collection and come up with an opportunity to negotiate down so that one, we actually get something. And secondly, because getting zero is zero. And a way to ingratiate the council and their concern of not wanting to demolish a building, not wanting to sort of override the idea that if you had trash in your yard, that you could pay your fine and now it's 25,000. The idea that you're not after their property necessarily, you just want compliance, or it could be a little bit of both. There are consequences to lack of your compliance, so if it's 25,000, I'm just throwing it out there, because all of these can have factors that I would love to propose, whether through the vendor or not. It could be the quality of the property, like what has happened now since we've had all these hurricanes. It may be something that's a huge eyesore, and it's like, oh no, we've dealt with them before. That $25,000 fine could be settled potentially for $2,000. Or,
If they couldn't get to 25, where they gonna get to 2,000?
and we could also, I would say, the question would be the idea that some of these properties, and that's why the factors of the quality of the property may go into play. Who owns them, how old they are, how gainful they are in other property management, is that there may be an opportunity to gain something, or we just legally still have all of these liens out on paperwork in the clerk's office with no real intention to do anything about them. So I would, maybe one of the council suggestions in getting this list and considering is the idea of which ones potentially just to dismiss or forgive. But my hope is not to leave this in the lap of another council or legal people who says now it's not 2008 or 15 years or 16 years later, it's 30 years later, and we still have potentially millions of dollars in liens that the city has never collected on. But you're correct, some of these may just go by the wayside as, sort of stupid taxes. Mr. Dave Ramsey talks about financial.
We
plans.
fail, here's where we fail in this. When you're up to your waist in alligators, you forget your intention was to drain the pond. Our intention was to do this. To clean it up.
Clean up.
You can't get, insurance on it, but. But
Yeah,
This-
title insurance.
you can't get title insurance on it. Nobody can, 20 years.
That is the reason I suggest for us to increase
Can I,
demolition in the budget.
I'm on, cause I do help with that a lot. A lot of these liens are like that one she mentioned is when we tear something down, usually a lien is not filed unless we've done a lot of work. And then we've even on liens, if the city manager, and it was a few years ago, y'all gave back when Taylor Brown was here, like a certain dollar amount that he could waive up to, and then it had to come before the council. But a lot of these people that say they don't clean their yards and it's fine, and it might go on for a year or two, but they sell that property, there's never a lien filed, but those property owners are notified that they need to clean them, and if they clean it, then we don't file a lien, those fees are just a wash.
And going to your point,
Yeah.
besides coming up with, in my opinion, something that at least could, re-engage in communication, even if it's, this is what you owe, we would love to connect with whatever connection is, and you all decide, or a delegated authority to dismiss it.
Yeah.
At least on the second part, which is where there are viable properties, there are by selling, it may be a way, because there's a lien on it, for the city to be compensated in some kind of way, because as you noted, most of these liens that are done, and especially ones that are enforced, there's already been all this work done regarding it, so it's not pervasive, it's not everybody who comes through gets a lien, and it definitely isn't that it's been enforced. But that's why this particular vendor, who I met with, Orange Data Systems, their idea and how they work, similar to other vendors like the speeding system, is the way they're compensated is in the use of their system. So basically, they take your your portfolio or index through some CV or something of all of the liens that you have out there, and they assess it and do like an analysis that I am in no way able to do it. And they bring it back within 30 days, and then out of that information, they want to see which ones, if any, would fare well for you to maybe do lien searches to find out which ones are marketable, already on sale, or the property is already on out for sale. And then it's only when particular property is identified as something you want to do action on, would they engage in some type of abatement process that whether or not you dismiss or waive the fine due or reduce it so that the property sells, if it's 2,000, 5,000, then the city gets the value of the manpower that's to enforce all these things over the last 15 years. You get something. But what I like also going to council member Brian's point, it's not this scary process where a person feels like you're about to do something for them. I think last year when the council was inside speaking of like, can we relieve these people to help demolish something that's a huge eyesore and dangerous and clear the land, that just helps it to be more useful in the future. And what I would suggest is that to be communicated in a broad base to most, if not all, the people who have a lien. Because they don't read the paper, they're not in the meeting, they're not hearing the compassion in which you're considering their plight. But if there was something like, let's reconnect, because everybody's not some poor citizen trying to make it through. Some of these are business people who have properties all over the nation and they have the property in Perry and they're up in Ohio or the Bahamas, ignoring our notices and selling their property. Those people I give no pass to, or when I say I don't have the power. You all can decide, well, that would be a particular lien that we want to enforce, or at least enforce to the point of getting something out of it. But right now, we just have no system of evaluation. It is based on whatever's happening at the time. And truthfully, until September last year, there was nothing being done since 2019.
Excuse me. Danielle, did you say that in the past that we decided to place a lien on the property, but it was never filed? Is that what happened and therefore never collectible?
So when a lien is filed, the only thing we try to collect is any work that the city has done, money we put into it, like we tear down a home, those fees have to be paid, but any fines leading up to that day is waived. We've here in the last year, I know, or so, when something's sold on the like a tax deed, they get our money, we get our money out of, you know, they sell it for at least that amount where we get that money up front, so.
But that lien is recorded.
Yeah, those liens are recorded,
Okay,
yes,
that was my question.
and, yeah,
All of these are liens that are recorded.
right,
We have way more people who we could place a lien on than we have.
right, exactly.
These are all recorded with the county clerk's
Right.
office.
Well, the lien's the last resort anyway. I mean, we don't really want liens.
A lot of times, the only time
Most
they
of the time,
file a
I
lien
just
is
want to clean the
to
property up,
tear down a house or things like that.
because they can't or won't do it herself.
And there's a problem with absentee landowners too,
Yeah,
like the attorney was saying, that's a big problem.
Yeah, somebody from
that's something.
way off buys it, never sees it, don't ever want to see it.
Buy the tax deeds and in with the property because they buy it on the tax sale.
Right.
And the only ones we would catch in those veins are those who also are delinquent or the tax deeds, but that doesn't necessarily cover others. So out of all of these liens, there may be options, and it's not gonna change the economic trajectory of your budget, but I think it would help clean up and also create like a standard as to how you decide who to pursue versus like everyone, sort of like even with the resolutions. It's great to have things written down and a policy that address it, that actually is dealing with what you're dealing with now and not sort of just done by anecdotal, this is what we've done. Because that wasn't a rule, that was just every time you're experiencing with the particular liens you all, excuse me, once, if a property came to your attention that was demolished, you're saying that the lien was waived, is that what you're saying?
No.
I mean, not the lien, I'm sorry, outside of the cost to do it, the rest
Any
was
daily
canceled.
fines.
The daily fines were canceled. But
You
that's not a
could-
rule, it's just how that was done.
Could you get something together for us and just kind of,
I would
something we
love
can
to,
look
like I
at?
said, I was just gonna talk about the vendor, but and I'm appreciative of Ms. Hampton emailing me about what are the liens. I want a copy of that.
Sure.
Because I didn't have a copy of all the liens. I just had information based on the liens that I was aware of that have been enforced since 2023.
Well,
Yeah, I was speaking of the meetings that you may have.
I didn't have it until I walked in, until a few minutes before.
Okay, I just want to be informed. I didn't.
Because I wasn't gonna go over it, that, I would have definitely had you try to vote on something that you don't have. But it's my
Well-
pleasure.
But I do know one thing, Craig, if we don't start using the money that we have in the budget for demolition, because there's so many, I don't know about your district, but I know in my district, there are a lot of homes need to be demolished. And this has been ever since I've been on the council. So if you all could look into that, I would.
We
But
have,
we don't want to take the properties.
we have started demolitions on some houses. We follow the Article 10 in the LDRs about substandard housing, minimum housing violations. And that goes before the BOA and they have to issue those orders. And we have been doing that, but it's the worst of the worst. So
You know, we
we're doing
used to
that.
get that information back to council. And we used to, correct. I think we authorized it. I don't know. But whatever, I like to know.
I may have been informed, a little more informed, but
I would like to know what's going on in my district, please.
that's something we're going to address with the clerk that handles
Okay.
that. There's been a change there.
Thank you.
anyway, if you wouldn't mind, hope just get up with the vendor and see what it would take to do this, what it's gonna cost us one way or another, and
Today, but, I was like, because there had not been an initial discussion, which I think is probably the most important thing. What is the status of the liens currently versus a vendor coming in and the council doesn't know what's happening now? So again, I appreciate the question.
I guess
But I
we'll
will,
just wait, we'll just wait to hear back from you about that.
okay.
Okay. Thank you. Agenda item 6O. Approval of minutes from September 24th, 2024 regular session. Any changes to the minutes? And not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion. Yes. And it, now the eyes and the keys.
Do we have a second? Needs, Ms. Benita seconded.
There's nothing I can do. Councilmember Rhines.
Yeah.
Councilmember Hanson.
Yes.
Councilmember Luther.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Landry.
Yes.
Mayor Ketchum.
Yes. All right, city manager.
This day, I would normally just wait for another meeting to bring it up, but I'm tired of getting phone calls from DEP saying we're out of compliance. I'll let Sean talk most about it. I'm not pretending like I know what all this is about. It's something we have to do every 5 years.
Yep, 5 years.
It's true.
Yes.
The city permit, like the wastewater and the bio solid side, was due to be renewed in 2022. From what I've seen, it looked like the last administration kind of waited to the last minute before they did it, because it's supposed to start renewal like 180 days before it needs to be redone. Like I said, the permit's every 5 years, and whenever they do that, it's the local limits have to be reevaluated. What that is just like the heavy metals, the oils and grease that the city can accept from like Super Puff or any pre-treatment user. And it kind of, it just regulates us on what we can put in the ground. When the permit was done, I guess because there was no one here to follow up in the end of 2022 and the start of 2023, it wasn't done. So I found out about it, well, the pre-treatment, some of the pre-treatment, boarding, some of the things they require, I found out probably April of this year. And as we've gone through, it was basically like the local limits have to be reevaluated by an engineer. We had an engineer that did the permit. We got in touch with him through, well, nobody knew about it, and actually me and Penny went through city POs and payments and found when the money had been paid for the permit to be renewed. So I contacted him. We worked with him a little bit. It really wasn't going that well. What we want to do with Mont McDonald is, because they have knowledge of our system, when they redo the local limits, if they redo the permit the next time, they're basically going to make a manual. It's gonna have every report, everything that is due. Because it's like, and I don't know if I told you before, when I came in, there was nobody to show me or tell me, this is due, this is what we need. Nobody. We've had to kind of figure it out as we go. Well, this should stop that, whether whomever is city manager or wastewater superintendent, they'll have basically a manual of everything that needs to be done. That's pretty much what this is. Stuff that wasn't done, but it has to be done. If DEP's been lenient, but we've just been kind of fumbling over it as we go, because we really didn't know what was done or what hadn't been done.
So what we need to do to just, I mean, doing this will fix that problem.
Yes,
So is this is a proposal?
that's how much it's gonna cost for the engineers to do the tasks which they have listed. Because like I said, every 5 years it has to be redone, and the DEP, the Florida statutes, they change every so many years. Well, it looks like when the permit was redone, I don't know if the engineer that the city paid to do it, he basically, from what I've heard, he stuck with 2010 standards, when one brought up to date, the 2021 standards.
Who was the engineer?
It was a guy out of Madison. But like I said, I don't really blame him, because there was no one here for him to follow up with. And I seen the bid request that they sent out to engineers, and it had the local limits in it, but the stuff he received, it was just the permit, it wasn't the local limits. So I think it was just whomever was overseeing it or lack thereof, it wasn't,
Who did he work for? Was it?
he worked for himself, he was just like a one-man show.
So this needs to go, do we need to go to bid with this? You looking for us to, what do you need us to do at this point?
Well, the city, especially because we're in it, we've got the grants and the projects with Mont McDonald. The goal is to basically, there will be somebody that knows what needs to be done. Whether I'm here or John's here, because you know, like I've asked John before, you know.
He's an engineer, he could do
Not that.
But.
Engineer's engineer. Y'all drive trains.
But what the superintendents were doing wasn't kept up.
it. Well,
What
we
do
got
we,
a choice.
we don't have a choice. I'm saying, is this proposal you need, what do you need?
I need a motion for me to sign the task order.
Okay.
Is that gonna be every 5 years, or have we do this one time, then we'll have to do it better ourselves?
But the local limits will have to be reevaluated every 5 years with the permit.
Like that kind of dollar every 5 years?
Well, I know this been some years ago, but from what I see, paperwork I see, Mom would have done everything for that. Then, and I don't know why, it looks like the city just went with the lowest bidder. But like I said, they didn't include the local limits, and you know, Vermont, they have a lot of experience doing this, so I think it'll be better. Actually, when they redid the plan, there's actually manuals that walk you through every piece of equipment. And it was a mirror, drew all that stuff up, and that's basically what we're gonna do with the pre-treatment. And it'll help us if a new company wants to come to town. And they have to have a pre-treatment program. And basically, like, when we do the local limits of the permit, we're held to these rules for 5 years. They really can't be changed on us, but at the end of 5 years, you have to make sure that, like I said, all the Florida Administrative Code and all the requirements by DEP or EPA, if they change, we're up to date on it.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Do we have a second? Yes, ma'am.
You said that, they could not contact anyone.
Yeah, talking to that engineer, when I finally got his number through Penny's help,
Yes.
when I called him, he was like, where have y'all been?
So he didn't make an effort to talk to anyone else.
Well, he
He was trying,
He
no
called-
one
But
would
I'm saying
return.
from the-
So like I said, I don't blame him, but with this, the time, it's the time sensitive.
It
material that
is.
This is him just being a one-man show, be elected to go with Mark McDonald.
Sean, we know who gave permission for the permit. When he say all he received was money for a permit and hadn't talked to
Well,
anyone.
there was a bid sent out, but he wasn't on the original bid that I found. I don't know who contacted him directly. I could ask him. But,
What year was that?
2022,
You can't bid engineering services. And I do blame him. He's a professional.
Mhm.
He's paid professional money. And I think our attorney ought to send him a letter to get our money back.
well, he did the permit, which he was paid to do. He just, the local limits weren't done.
Want the money.
And like I said, we're still going off old local limits. They weren't updated. They may not change, but they have to be reevaluated every 5 years.
Anyway, so this will fix that problem.
Yes, sir.
DEP's calling once a week, want to know what our timeline is to get out of compliance.
Oh, we got a-
Who?
DEP. FDP.
we got a-
Oh, okay,
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I do second.
Councilmember Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Hampton.
Yes,
Councilmember Woodfolk.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Landry.
Yes,
Mayor Ketchum.
Yes.
At least they haven't second used Jacksonville.
I just want to.
Sean.
You did, let him take it back up.
Don't send you over there with the keys again.
I commend you for what you do.
He is doing. a
Yes.
great job.
I'm gonna be the one to go on the record and say that if I find out anybody that's not doing the job, they're just getting paid, I would be the first one to be in John's office and recommend for them to be fired. Because it's like we just throwing away money now.
Yeah, and
Nobody can speak for where this money has went, who's supposed to take responsibility for it, and that's a big problem with me. It is.
you know, and like I say, us having this relationship with them, I think it'll solve that. Just having a playbook, what's supposed to be done.
Yep.
I don't know how much water, I don't think water's issued a permit, but really anything that is required of us, DEP, whatever. And I don't plan on going anywhere, but if something happens to me, like
Mhm.
previous superintendent, you know, he had so much no one knew about,
Mhm.
and he was going like that, and then, you know, then you play catch up.
A lot of people keep that as job security for themselves.
preventive maintenance is so important, and it's been neglected for so long, and I commend you, like Benita said, for what you're doing to try to bring it up to date and to keep records, to keep
Mhm.
timetables on, when is it time to do this or that or the other. We have to do it.
They had some little cheat sheet stuff that we were doing in the lab, which we've been doing, that wasn't a problem. It was basically the stuff superintendent was doing or having the engineers do. But like I said, without him here, you know, and you know, there's a new wastewater superintendent and water superintendent, public works director's not here, city manager. It was during that time.
Yeah.
It's got. And I try to send. And I try to send everything I find, I'll send it to Danielle and John. To try to keep on file. But I think this will be better.
Well, it's like you said, if there's a manual that's got it and got the timetable and everything, and it's accessible to anybody or everybody that needs to have access to it, then the work can go forward.
Well, the other problem is we need this annual pre-treatment report. What does that mean? Where do you get the form to fill out? Who do you turn it into?
Yeah.
That's what we've been running into. There's things that you can go online, there's things you have to have notarized, and mailed in. So,
Well, you got what you need now to go ahead, get it done right, so
well,
appreciate it.
Yep, and I really like Doug with Mom McDonald, he's been real helpful on this, so. Just the way it's been going, I think it'll be fine. If not, I'll be the first one to tell you, because I don't want this hanging over my head anymore. And I'll say this biggest headache that I've had here so far.
A good job at finding a solution.
Yep.
Thank you.
Like I say, I keep saying it, I thank him too.
All right, thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Got anything else, John? Okay. City attorney, I think you covered all yours earlier,
What
didn't
can
you?
I say? I was so proud to be in Philadelphia for a annual convocation with my church and look on CNN and see Mayor Ward Kedron. And I say that not to make his head go big, but
It's not.
no, I know I've harped a lot on Florida legal cities in the conference, but if anyone remember my much talking I shared about wanting inquiring, we had an emergency communication protocol. And one of those learnings for me at least is that other people may criticize things, but the citizens of Perry emotionally connect to knowing that their officials are out there. Even though they may see our public works workers, and if they slow down to consider, they know that the people are working. And then we thank those who like you are at here while your families may be evacuated. But I was proud of both the fact that you did it, but also as we looking at lobbying efforts while we don't have a lobbyists, like the idea of how can we make the state legislature know who we are? Like, who is Perry? Who is Taylor County? And literally, I'm not of the belief that all publicity is good, but whether it's connecting to Taylor County and Keep Beach and a number of the coastal line that's not officially Perry, the idea that, you know, whether it's political people coming to visit, like the President of the United States, anything that I feel would help replicate the communication that we're here, that we matters when it comes to the harder things like getting the state legislature to appropriate enough money for us. So I wanted to say that sort of jokingly because I knew you would turn a little red, but in a serious way, it made me feel, he's like, did I turn red? The serious way that it made me feel good to know that it wasn't just capturing the county commissioners, right? It had our people in, so the city of Perry, often what they say, it takes 6 communications for someone to remember something.
Yep.
So I'm like, Perry. Now, whether it result tomorrow in like a $3 million appropriation bill, it may not, but that learning from that FOC conference, I just felt like, yes, to do that, and all of you who've been posting different services for our community, I just think it does have dividends that go unappreciated, but I was really proud to see. I don't know how they reached out or knew, but I was very proud to see the city being represented.
Yep,
But that's it. I don't have it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have anything.
thank you.
thank everybody. I mean, I might have got on the news or whatever, but there were so many people that actually did the work. Everybody, I mean, I know Andrew was, talked to Andrew a couple of times. We had a pool get into a water main. Yeah, and just the water pressure just started going wonky and the tower started emptying out. And anyway, I know so many, I know all of y'all, Sean, Garrett, all of y'all, Jamie, I mean, RB, all you crews, everybody came together, did a lot during this. Really appreciate what you did.
We'll get good at it.
Unfortunately, that's true. We're getting better.
Yes.
Danielle, sorry I mentioned that. If I missed anybody, I apologize, but I know a lot of people did a lot of things. Otherwise, the services wouldn't have kept going. I gotta admit, this scared me a little when I was spigot and water didn't come out. I was like, oh no. But that fixed pretty quick. That was in the middle of the night and by early that morning, it was back up, so
Is that here about 4 a.m.? Shut
Yeah.
down, so get it isolated.
that's right. Anyway, Carly,
We went live on our new system for accounts payable, payroll, and, financial reporting on the 27th.
Okay.
It's going along, it's a learning curve, but
You came in at the right time.
yes, I did. I'm glad to have a system now that I actually, that part has been easier for me of being able to navigate a newer system. It's more so just making sure everything translated from the old
Right.
one to the new one.
Yes.
What about the bills, the city bills? Have they gone out yet?
Yes, they went out,
On the third.
on the third, like as soon
I
as she
did
could
not,
get it out.
I did not get one, so I guess I better come up here. and see
Yeah, it's
if
the
they-
mail, I'm for sure. It's probably slow.
y'all still doing the postcards right now?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's supposed to go live December 1st. Supposed.
I mean, what's it gonna be, like a regular envelope or something, or?
It's gonna be a full sheet bill.
Okay.
Good. Mhm.
Very good.
When did you say that? When are they coming?
December 1st.
December.
Christmas time.
I haven't seen.
You did?
I did not.
Haven't got ours yet either. Jamie?
There's actually too much to mention.
Okay,
Other than
send us an email.
just to echo your comments that I heard earlier, how blessed we are to have wonderful staff
Yeah.
that cares about the community whenever it matters, they get to work.
Yes.
I want to tell everybody, thank you. I spent a lot of time talking with Sean on some things. And, we worked together on some stuff. He's been great to work with, just making sure that he had what he needed and with the water department as well.
I always call Jamie when I need something.
And we work it out, we get it out. And I'd like to thank the guys at the police department, they've been working, a lot of hours. And continually working hours now with this traffic coming.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
We're back to working, everybody's working right now, without days off, so. Want to thank everybody for what they've done and how well they've represented us.
Yeah.
Even in rough times, they're still holding their composure and trying to be, the best they can. And I want to tell everybody, thank you for that.
Thank you. Good.
Appreciate it. RB?
Basically same thing, just echoing Jamie about thanking everybody, my guys, they done a wonderful job, they all showed up at work. No fussing, no griping, done what they needed to do. Everybody else in the city, anybody need anything, we tried to help them, they helped us, so. Other than that, the other thing I got is I did get an answer on my firehouse grant today, firehouse subs grant today. And it was denied, so I need some money for some excavation equipment.
Yeah.
Take the rest of it.
They did not give a reason why it was denied, it just said it was at this time was not. Or it was at this time, so. I'm gonna fill out for another one.
You
As soon as
gotta
they
keep
open up,
asking.
give up,
go
keep
again.
going.
Other than that, that's all I got.
Okay, thank you,
Thank y'all.
Danielle. I know it's been wild and crazy for you.
They started 3:30 that morning pushing roads. And they worked ever since. They worked hard. Still working, still cleaning, still straightening signs.
Yeah, I see a lot of them, said the night,
Still
the
trying
road
to
signs are,
Trying to pick up cans.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
it was
Other than that,
an event for sure.
And Ad's still
And I-
complaining whenever I called him about traffic issues this week.
it was,
I said, and Ad's still not complaining when I call him about traffic issues this week.
I tell you what, I appreciate my men. Because, I mean, I appreciate fire, police, everybody, gas, even one of the gas guys, he helped my guys. And that he didn't have anything going on.
Good, good.
It's been a lot easier working with local people than it has been with some of the folks from out of town coming in. We clashed heads with folks that weren't here to help, they were here to take advantage of the situation. You can tell the people that are invested in the community, whenever things happen, and we've got great work.
We sure do. One thing I
Very
will
good.
mention is I was told that we should work 24/7.
Can't have it.
And, it worked as hard as we can, but
Well, I said, we sure appreciate everything. It was,
She asked.
Herculean effort.
24/7.
not sure if they want to volunteer.
There you go.
show us how, we'll follow your lead, right? Very good. Andrew's not here. Guess he, department, Sean, you got anything else besides what you had earlier?
We had 3 main backup generators at the plant. We had one that kept running hot and went down, but we had a rental from the EOC, or actually Gardner, from the mission statement we put out. We still have it hooked up now. I got a guy coming tomorrow from Ring Power to see if we can figure out what's wrong with it. You know, I intend to give them on like a service plan. The operators are exercising them, running the engine for 10 or 15 minutes, you know, once a month or so, but from what I found is they need to be tested under load so many times a year. And the oil needs to be changed once a year, and an analysis needs to be done on the oil. I basically, I guess, to determine how much life is left in the generator. One of the generators is only about 4 or 5 years old. The other two, I think the one in the building is like an 80 model. That gets as old as the building. The other one's probably a late 90s, early 2000s. But hopefully it did run hot, but it did have the safety function to shut itself down. So we think it's okay. We just got to figure out why it keeps running hot. And my guys, we worked 2 weeks straight. The guys, you know, they were out of power too. That's the biggest thing, is them working 12, 16 hours and then having to go home and deal with their power outages and all that. So, you know, I try to tell them, get as much rest as they can. If they need to come in later, do what they got to do, because I don't want them there arguing and fighting, because they're grown people. They did real well. Like I said, we are getting good at this. I don't know what bragging about it. Got a little more streamlined with like Jamie and EOC ordering generators, getting what we need. We're a lot better this time. A lot better. I got exactly what I needed.
Let's hope we don't have to have them fire off.
Yeah, I hope we forget what we learned.
Because I'm retired before we have another one.
Yeah.
We have another one, I'm retired.
The guys in the field, they're pretty new. They did real well and they got, we got a guy who's been here 2 weeks. His first week here was during the hurricane.
Oh, wow.
So he didn't quit, so.
No,
No any questions?
thank you for doing the preventive maintenance that you're doing. That you just described it when you talked about the generators. That's what we gotta do.
Yeah, like I said, they exercise them, but I guess it just running and then running under load, it was running hot, so. I mean, I wish I'd discovered it before, but it ran fine during Adelia and Debbie, but we had trouble out this time, so.
You'll figure it out. Thank you.
Thank you. You're up. Garrett,
As far as gas department, we had minimal damage, and everything went pretty good. Parks, I mean, obviously, y'all seen the parks, they were a mess. Parks got a lot of help from the 2 MA crews, they cleaned up most of it themselves. And then we got doors already tore off, y'all probably seen them. We're working on them, getting them. We got doors ordered already. For some reason, they got new doors up there, at any of the little places right now, but we've ordered them. And we're working on just getting all the parts back.
well, the gas department's getting more and more important during the storms because so many people are hooking up gas powered generators.
And
Which I believe-
no one lost gas service.
We've got one at the airport we've had for quite a while.
No one lost gas.
Good deal. Okay. Sampson,
Real briefly, I'm just so grateful, you all. I'm so grateful that God spared our lives. And I'm so thankful for everything that each of you all contributes to the city of Perry. Yes, I left town. I'm afraid of storms. I went to Gainesville. It wasn't bad there at all. So when I returned, it was just a lot, you know. And I'm just thankful for each of you. The most important thing is that he spared our lives.
amen.
Man.
So that's all.
Thank you. Ms. Lander,
I'm proud of our city employees. I'm proud of the way you stick together. You work together. You do what needs to be done. You don't complain about it, just do the job. And that's refreshing. I'm not proud of the way our city looks. Still got trash in my neighborhood. They've never picked it up since the last storm. So there's more work to be done, and I know it gets pushed back. Every time we have a storm, it gets pushed back. But it is embarrassing when people come and see what it looks like, especially when they know what it used to look like, what we can look like. So that's my only complaint. Get the trash picked up. Thank you.
They've got, how many trucks did they say? Like 40 or more trucks.
If that meant first week,
Yeah.
I'm not worried about this going down here, but
Mhm.
they talked today about giving them a guaranteed rate, getting more trucks down here. If they don't do that same thing for us, they're just gonna leave here and go down there.
Go there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They didn't mention if they're gonna do the guaranteed rate, the same guaranteed rate for up here to keep the trucks here, they're here.
well, I saw too where, they have the flooding down there and they have all this stuff piled up outside the buildings. Now they got this storm coming there and they're running 26 hours a day trying to get all that picked up before the wind hits. So, yeah. Yeah, Ms. Benita.
I just want to thank everybody. I stayed because of my job, but I just commend all of y'all that stayed. It was kind of hard to send your family off and you stayed here. But I just thank everybody for everything that they did. That's it for me.
Thank you. Mr. Brown.
Just a little suggestion. But that, Mark McDonald, well, that was a formal action by the council. And we need to. Doesn't this be, the agenda become part of the minutes?
That'll be it.
No, I mean, this agenda, rather, I know this,
Yes.
Well, the result of it, we
It will, but I could add it as like,
that's what
if you chose to add it to,
I would make it 6 P,
okay.
just because it's a formal.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha.
I slept through that hurricane, didn't hear anything.
Andrew didn't want to be up when he was going to turn his valves off.
And if you wanted to see a real circus, you needed to go out there. The whole busted the water line. They had so many people out there. And they still couldn't do anything until the right man got there.
Where's this?
And when he got there, he couldn't do anything till he called somebody.
Now we got,
Where is this? Bucket Road.
They had
Oh, that's
people-
what my dad was talking.
And they had one man, he was just safety, he sat in his truck.
they were safe.
Well, the number of people was just,
So that was.
yeah,
That was 6 inch,
But-
8 inch.
we can count on them taking from us and sending it south. That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
happened.
It's coming.
That's where the big show is now.
Well, it follows the latest event usually.
Just something we'll have to live with.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I just want to, again, tell everybody, thank you. Tell everybody, you know, everybody, just tell everybody thanks from us and next trip.
It's. It's okay, we're proud of you.